how would you describe your experience in China during the pandemic?
I would say that it wasn't as bad as we expected it to be because initially when it just started in back in December, we weren't really fully aware until January. After January, then we were all put on a lockdown. So during the lockdown, it was a bit emotionally unbalanced at first, but then we got used to it. And for me, I lived off campus, which means I live in an apartment. So therefore, I never felt the effects as those who lived on dorm. So I think it wasn't as bad for me. In the first 2-3 weeks when everything was blowing out of proportion, like I felt like maybe this is a virus that I may catch because I live in China and you know the whole it started in China kind of thing. So initially I was scared, I had a bit of panic. But over like a month or so, I got really used to it, and it just like be cautious when you go out, wear your mask, protect yourself, self hygiene, and after a while I got used to it, so I wasn't scared at all. Initially when it started, I was at home. Of course, it was just holiday for us because we get holiday in January instead of December. So I just started holidays, I was home, and then first, because my apartment, they gave us a ticket, like something like an identification where you can only go outside 3 times for the week. And within that 3 times, you go to the supermarket, you do everything that you needed to do because they tick it off. So as soon as you go out, they tick it off. And then after those 3 times, you have to wait until the other week to go out. However, speaking for those who lived on campus, they could not really go out at all. They had to be staying inside. They told them to order food online, which is very easy. You order everything online and it comes to you. So you could move around within the campus, but you can't leave through the gate. We have a group called Jamaicans in China. So we were always talking, well, most persons talk, others listen, but we're always communicating in that group. And we had smaller groups. So if you have friends, you have friends with your groups. We have something called WeChat. So WeChat is like the Jamaican WhatsApp. So you can talk with your friends, you can share stuff. So we always have groups that you communicate with. However, there were people living in my building. So I did have contact with some other Jamaicans within my apartment. The Jamaicans in China, they had some lines that you could call if you need to speak with someone, if you needed counseling or anything like that. So most of the time you were in contact with someone. Once the virus outbreak started, every foreigner that used to be in the hospital stopped, and those who were supposed to go to the hospitals also didn't get the chance to do so because foreigners are not allowed to go to the hospital for anything at all because in an effort to protect us, I assume they don't want us out there because they're responsible for us, and if anything should happen, then you know they'll have to put money out there and maybe call their families back home and all of that. So in order to try to avoid that, no one was allowed to go to the hospital as a foreigner.
What advice would you have for Jamaicans how to cope with, because I think China's coped with it best out of all countries?
Yes, you can say that. The thing is, Chinese are very disciplined when it comes to certain things. When it comes to their government and they say stay at home, you stay at home, or there are consequences. If they say wear your mask, like initially when it just started, you will see everyone in their mask. Like it's a rule. You don't enter a building without a mask. They also had this app to check wherever you have, because China is very technologically inclined. So they had this app that you had to check in and they'll see every single move you make. So if you left your city, they would have known. If you left the country, they know. And you use that app to go everywhere. So for example, for me, if I want to go to the supermarket, I would need to scan a code for the supermarket to show that I've not left China, I've not left my city, and I'm free, like I'm virus free. So if you have been traveling up and down, you may have some problems. And if they find out that you possibly have the slightest symptoms, they will come for you. So it was fairly safe for you to like go out. And then when in regards to the lockdown, I think after a while you felt a bit of comfort with how they handled the situation. The first night I came outside of the airport, I was really scared because persons were coming to receive us, and not just us, because we did the test before coming home. Before we left China, all of the persons coming from China had to do the test. But when we got to Amsterdam, we met a lot of different people from all over the place that came on the chartered flight. But when we got to the airport, like everybody standing outside, almost no one was wearing a mask. And I'm saying you're coming to receive people that is coming from a plane, so you don't know what happened. So that for me was like, that's not okay, but I mean, what are you going to do? So I wore my mask, of course, because I know the person that came with, we are all did the test and we're negative. but we wouldn't know what else is happening around us. And it's not like you can see the virus with your eyes and say, okay, he has it, he doesn't have it, like that. When I got home, though, it kind of got a bit of ease. But then after some time, I realized I found myself not wearing, like, during quarantine, of course, the 14 days I wore it. Like, today when I wanted to come outside, I realized if I wear a mask, certain places people start looking at me weird. And I was just like, okay, that's actually not the best. But I still wear my mask because it's the safest thing to do to protect yourself. You don't know who has it, who doesn't. I'm not sure how many people get tested on a regular basis, so you definitely can't tell who has it. Some persons may be asymptomatic and you don't see them, you don't know, and you may get it like this. And they say it mostly affects old people, but you can be the carrier and give it to someone in your family who is old. So it's better to stay safe than sorry.